Hi, my name is Charly Shelton, and I am a paleontologist. That means I work on digs finding ancient animals. My degree is in archaeology, which is similar but a little bit different, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I do archaeology and paleontology for a cultural resource management company. That's a very complex, jargon full way of saying I stand around and at construction sites and make sure they don't hurt anything. I walk next to the big rigs, the big bulldozers and excavators and whatnot, and watch as they're digging. And if they dig up any fossils or any signs of past life, if there are arrowheads or pottery or basketry or anything that's in LA, in the LA area, it's probably a Native American thing, or sometimes it's bits of glass or old pieces of iron that are from the Rancho era out here in California, and I'm just on standby to make sure that if they do dig anything up, I can then excavate it safely, because we don't want them to just blast right through it and destroy everything, but we also don't want to necessarily shut down the entire project and say, everybody go home, you can't dig here. So my job is looking at, is this important? Not just a rock. Is it something of importance? And then if it is important, I have to take it out of the ground, and I have to do that very quickly. So a big part of my job is digging, and there are different levels, with different, once you go from a bachelor's to a master's to a doctorate or anything like that, there are different jobs at different levels. I'm kind of at the level that I want to be at. I don't want to go too much further with degrees and whatnot, because at a certain point, when you have a master's degree, when you have a doctorate, you're too expensive to send into the field anymore. And I don't ever want to be the guy who's stuck behind a desk reading about what somebody else was digging up. I want to be the one who's digging it up. So I've got a bachelor's degree in anthropology with a specialization in archaeology. I was in school for 10 years almost, because none of my counselors knew what to do when I said I want to be a paleontologist. And there's no button you can click. There is no undergraduate degree for paleontology. So I spent 3 years doing my anthropology degree, because they said it's through the anthropology department like archaeology. And then in my third year, they said, oh wait, no, actually it's different. It's geology department. So then I was in the geology department for 5 years or so, with some time off because I got frustrated at never knowing where I'm going to be and nobody giving me a straight answer. So it took me a long time to go through school, and when I got done with my 5 years of geology, and right as I was ready to be finished and graduate with a geology degree, they said, oh no, wait, you should be in the archaeology department, which is back in anthropology. So I had to go back over there for another couple of years to get that finished up. At the end of the day, what I've found as a paleontologist working in the industry is, since there is no undergraduate degree for paleontology, you need to have some sort of college degree in a related field. So geology would work fine, anthropology, archaeology, whatever you do, like whichever direction you go, you need to go through a field school, which is a special program. It doesn't have to be through your college. It can be through either a third party or something. I was very fortunate that my college offered field school as a class. So I got to take a class through my college with all the other people in my department and get my field school out of the way. That's the most important thing you can do, is that's where you learn how to do excavations safely, because that's the majority of what you're going to do. You can read papers all day, every day, and know about it, in theory, but until you get something in your hand, it's not quite the same. You're never going to know something out of a book the same way you do when you dig it out of the ground. So in my years of schooling and whatnot, just out of interest, when I was in high school, I volunteered at the La Brea Tar Pits Museum, the George C. Page Museum in Hancock Park. And I worked there for 4 years over the summers, digging in the tar pits. And then over the winters, I would be in the lab doing fossil preparations and whatnot. And that was more valuable to me than anything I got from college. And not to say that college was not valuable to me. It was, but what I learned being in the tar pit has benefited me more than anything I learned in school. So if this is something you're interested in, because so few people are trying to pursue this as a career, if it's something you're interested in, you need to take it upon yourself to find opportunities in your area, to volunteer at a museum or on a dig, and get out there and learn as you go. And there are almost always, I don't think I've ever run across a dig that I've been on where if they're accepting volunteers, I've never seen them be unhappy that you're there. It's so rare that somebody wants to get into paleontology. So when somebody expresses interest in it, it's, everybody who's around is like, hey, I'd love to teach you, come on by, hey, let me show you this. So you pick up skills very quickly because everybody who's on the site who's been doing it a while is really willing to teach you. So finding a field school or a volunteer place or something like that is going to be imperative, and that's where you're going to get the majority of it. But then having the background of a degree in archaeology or anthropology or geology will also help to define where you land in the industry. Because I worked at the George C. Page Museum in the La Brea Tar Pits, that's not dinosaurs and it's not cavemen. It's all Ice Age stuff. So mammoths and saber-toothed cat and dire wolves and all that kind of stuff from North America during the last Great Ice Age and the Pleistocene. And so that's what I learned under, and that's what I got very good at, being able to discern fossils of these Ice Age megafauna or big animals. And because of that, I'm working with a company that does CRM, which is Cultural Resource Management, and that's where you stand next to the digging equipment. I work mostly on sites where they expect to find Ice Age megafauna there. So when they have something and they think, oh, this is very high likelihood of finding a fossil, they call me rather than somebody else. And likewise, if they have something where they say, hey, we know we're going to find etched stone tablets in this area from the Cahuilla. I am not a specialist on the Cahuilla. I could probably get by because I know who to ask for help. But there are other people in the company with that specialty of Native American art. My specialty is Ice Age animals. And so those are the jobs that I get to go out on. And I've gone out on jobs all over Southern California, from as far north as Ridgecrest, where I did my field school, and then I worked up there just a few months ago doing a monitoring job, and all the way down to Palos Verdes by the ocean and everywhere in between. This is the soil that I'm familiar with. If I just pick up shop and move to, Montana, I know what I'm doing. I know how paleontology is done. I just have to go in and familiarize myself with those fossils because I've never really encountered them. But once you get that bedrock of here's how to excavate and here's the background of your degree, you can kind of take it anywhere you want to go in America. Now, archaeology is a little bit different because it's all so much Native American stuff here, and there are specific laws protecting Native American art and burial grounds and anything that they may have touched. If it's a village site, if it's a burial, even if it's little flakes and whatnot off when they were stone flint knapping to make arrowheads or spears, all of that stuff is specially protected. So I can help to catalog it and then call somebody in from the tribe to be able to bring it in. And that's kind of, once you learn what that looks like, you can pretty much do that anywhere, because no matter where you go, you're going to be working with the local tribe. So that has a little bit more freedom because they're all from within several thousand years of each other. If you're talking paleontology, the Ice Age animals, the mammoths that were around the LA area that got trapped in the tar pits, are millions of years separated from the dinosaurs that you'll find in Montana. Most of what they have up there was under ice during the Ice Age, so that none of the fossils got buried in the dirt. All the fossils were already there. And so what I'm looking at is maybe 1,000,000 years old at the most. At the absolute most, it's about 1,000,000 years old is what I work with. Dinosaurs were 65 million years old at the youngest. So they were separated almost as far as we are separated from them. It's only a difference of 1 out of 65 million years. So there's a lot more of a shift, a lot more difference in being able to relocate to different time periods. It's like you're time traveling to go from here to Montana, or to go out to the coast and find the Miocene fossils that are all the way along the California coast being weathered out of the mountains. Or if you go down to even more ancient, 500 million year old things that are exposed in Texas. And one of my teachers specialized in these little tiny fish things about the size of your thumb that are 500 million years old. So as you get into this, if you are interested in any ancient life at all, from the very beginning of life on Earth all the way through to today, if you have any interest there, that's a really long time. So the first step you need to do is figure out what time period you like, and that will tell you where you're going to be looking for these fossils. And then you can start to work with people and groups in that area so that you can become familiar with what those fossils look like and be able to pick out, when I'm looking at a whole bunch of rocks, why is this rock different? And what is it about that one that catches my eye? How do I know that's a fossil and not just another rock? So beyond that, all I can say is please go into paleontology. I think it's everyone's responsibility to safeguard history for the future. These are things that if I don't do my job, if I'm not watching, a bulldozer will drive through it and we'll never know it was there because it's going to get pulverized into rock. So the responsibility that I have when I'm working to really pay attention and really be present means I get to save this, and I get to pull this mammoth skull out and take it to a museum, and now people hundreds of years from now can still go and see these well-preserved fossils that I found, and I can save that for them so that they can learn from it the same as I do. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And also the joy of discovery, of finding something that no one has ever seen before. When you first uncover it and you see that, I'm getting goosebumps. Like it's the greatest feeling in the world, finding something that no one has ever seen and that would have been lost if not for you. That's the best. So I highly recommend paleontology. And if you have any questions, you can either reach out to your local museum. I'm sure I can be made available through your teacher or whoever you can get in contact with can follow this chain back and get in touch with me. I'd be happy to talk to you and point you in the right direction from wherever you are. Good luck.